and welcome to Sue Findlay Designs. Today's video is going back and looking at a previous video where I did some resin bending. Now quite often I get asked how long should the resin be left curing before you actually move to the bending stage. Now I normally leave it around about 8 hours because that's when it's solid enough to not be moving, and when you touch it it's not sticky, anything like that, so then you can then get the mould and bend it, or remove it from the mould and bend it, and it's still very, very pliable. But you still got to be careful that you don't leave fingerprints and things like that in the resin, so you have to handle it with care. So I've had quite a few people saying, oh, I've tried to move it and it wasn't quite working the way it does in your video and things like that. Now obviously everybody's using different resin, so I can't comment on how long it takes for other resins. But what I decided to do was to leave a piece overnight and see how good it is at bending. Now bearing in mind that normally when I remove a piece the following day, when I take it out of a mould, it is still quite bendy, and so I thought, well, that should be fine, I should be able to do that. So this particular piece was that I have in my hand here was one that I worked on. Now I left this for around about 16 hours before demoulding it and bending it. Now it was quite stiff when it came out. It wasn't as flexible as maybe some of the other resins when I've demoulded it, but nevertheless I wanted to see if it was still possible to bend it. So what I had to do with this one, because there's a lot of stones and things in this so crushed glass, someone had made a comment on the Facebook group that would it crack, would the multimedia elements in there pose a problem. And so I thought, well, this is all good for the experiment, so we can then see, because the glass, it actually sinks to the bottom, so as you can see from the back it actually goes right the way through. And so I thought, well, yeah, it may well crack when we try to bend it. So you'll see in the video me actually bending this, and I used my heat gun to apply heat to help with the bending process. So, and it's, as you can see, it's worked quite well. It's been left for another 24 hours to cure. I left it balancing on the roll of bubble wrap, and it is actually quite hard. This is not moving anymore, so so I'm quite happy with that one. So, and I'm quite pleased with how it came out. So as you can see, it's a semicircle and we've got some light coming through, so it's actually turned out to be quite a good piece. So it was a good experiment to work on. So without further ado, let's get into the video and see how I get on. Well, you can see how I got on, but let's see what I did to bend this piece. So just like in the other resin bending tutorials I've done, I'm using the same mat that I got from Kmart, which is the pet drip mat, so to protect your floors, so that's quite handy. And I'm also using a range of Colour Obsession pigments and pastes, as well as some pigments from A1 Pigments, but I'll list the whole ones that I used in the description below. I'm also using IKEA crushed glass. Now I like the IKEA glass because some of the particles have a mirror on them, so you get some nice reflections happening through the piece, so that's nice to use. And that's the mat, like I say, it's about 5mm thick, that I've used previously. Now I didn't have any real plan on how I was going to lay this out. I just knew it was going to have shades of blue, teal and white, because they're the colours I tend to I'm drawn towards. I actually quite like those colours, and particularly the pigments and things I've got in stock at the moment, they're really nice pigments, so I tend to use them quite a bit. So like I said, I didn't really have any plan. I've laid the first layer down, which is just a clear, and then I'm just going to add a little bit of mineral spirits to each of the colours, just a couple of squirts, just to help with a little bit of cell activation between the colours. And I'm just laying them out one on top of the other and just in an S shape, just to see what happens. Like I said, there was no real plan involved here because I was more interested in the bending and how that was going to be later. But also, I don't like to waste resin unnecessarily, so I do try to create something that I can possibly sell or keep for myself. So there is a little bit of method to my madness. And as always, I'm using the heat gun to just zap it. And because you can see here that when I added the mineral spirits, you do actually get quite a bit of cell activation. But unfortunately, with the resin moving, and because it's 5mm thick and it's quite deep, that we do lose the cells later on. But we still get a nice effect with the colours blending. But it would have been nice if those cells had stayed. And I may well try and create the cells on a wooden board where the resin's not so thick. We may well get a nicer result. I also have a tendency to overwork things a little bit, so I felt that some areas needed some more white, and I added some more mineral spirits. And you can see that it's creating some interesting effects with the popping of bubbles and what have you. So I'll go on and play with this a bit, just adding more and more colours until I've nearly ruined it, but you know, that's ho hum, that's what we tend to do. So yeah, just adding a little bit more white because I felt it just needed some more white in certain areas. So I'll just go around and just tweak and just try not to overwork it, but I think I'm failing there miserably. I also give the resin a quick spritz with mineral spirits just to break up some of the colours. So you'll see that some of the colours start separating and we start getting, you know, some interesting effects and things happening. Probably not as much as I would have liked, but it does help break up the colours slightly. So once I'd decided that I'd played with that well enough, I then moved on to adding the crushed glass. So here, as always, I'm just picking out areas where I can apply the glass. So I'm following the shape that's been created in the resin. So following creases, lines, anything where I think that the resin will work and break up. Now, because this is 5mm thick, the glass will sink quite a bit, so you need to come back and keep pouring more on top until you got the desired thickness that you want. So I probably go on and keep doing this for a good half hour or so, just adding stones and things, but obviously I won't bore you with showing you the whole time of me adding the stones, or the glass I should say. So like I say, we just go around here and just add it where necessary. Now, one of the comments that I got on Facebook was whether all this glass in here would cause the resin to break when bent. Now, I didn't think it would, because obviously the resin is going to form around each piece of glass, and yeah, while it may create weak points, I think it would still be fine. But you know, we're going to err on the side of the caution, and I'm going to make sure that I'm not forcing the resin too much to bend, and we'll just see how it goes. Now this piece of resin has now been curing for a good 16 hours or more, and you can see it comes out the mould quite easy, and it's actually a little bit harder than normal. Normally the resin is a lot more bendy than this, but I think because it's 5mm thick, that's why it's not bending quite so much. So as you can see, it's not moving quite as easily as I thought it would. So I'm just going to apply heat to this to help and aid with the bending process. So just by heating it, you'll see that it will bend a lot easier. Now, as it is cured, you will get a tendency for the resin to try and sort of go back to where it was before. So this is why I just went with the semicircular look rather than try and bend it all the way around, because I didn't want to force the issue. So, but I'm going to leave this like this now for the next 24 hours, and we'll see what it's like when we come back. I think we can safely say that this bending experiment was a success, that we're still able to manipulate it even after it is cured, and that you do have quite a bit of time to work with the piece to get your desired results. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video and it gives you inspiration to go bending your own resin. I'd love to see the pieces that you've made. If you haven't already, please join the Facebook group. Here you can share your creations. There's a link in the description for this if you've not already joined. So that's it for now. Until next time, I hope you enjoy playing with your resin, and we will see each other again soon. Bye now.